so many teachers. Yeah. There are many teachers, for instance, in Portugal who are at schools, and so fortunately they will have the opportunity to see the recorded version later on. So it is a pleasure to have you all here, and thank you so much for your interest in our project. Moving on to the project coordinator.
Yeah, thank you very much. So first of all, good morning, guten Tag, or Grüß Gott, as we say here in Munich, and buongiorno, and labdien, and bom dia, and of course also bonjour. So I'm Christiane Lütke. I'm the coordinator of this project, and I'm also the chair of teaching English as a foreign language here at LMU Munich. First of all, I would like to say welcome to all of you, those whom you can actually see in the screen right now, but also all the guests hidden somewhere in, the digital depth somewhere. We are so happy that you found the time to join us today, and we're quite excited to actually tell you a bit about what we've done so far, and also discuss in more detail what we will be doing, and also to have some guests who will give us some additional input. Now, first of all, the acronym DiCE.Lang, not everyone may actually know what that is. That stands for Digital Citizenship Education and Foreign Language Learning. It is a transnational European Erasmus Plus strategic partnership project aiming to strengthen the profile of digital citizenship education in the context of foreign language learning. And this 5-language address, or actually 6, alludes to those members of our project consortium here. So that's Germany and Ireland, Latvia, Portugal, and Italy. The project consortium is working on a supranational priority, which has been strongly affirmed through recommendations issued by the Council of Europe, and that is digital citizenship education. And yet, subject-specific adaptations are still lacking. And this is precisely where we come in as a project group. So in order to reach this very large-scale objective, DiCE.Lang will conceptualize how digital citizenship education can be implemented in foreign language teaching by providing some novel pathways into educational resources, and also by developing some kind of professional materials and policy updates. What we will be doing is mainly 4 intellectual outputs that we are working on, partly already achieved and still in the process. First, there's a survey to research teachers' knowledge, skills and attitudes related to DCE, which will later be turned into a tool for teachers' professional self-reflection. And then second, there is a comprehensive set of open educational resources available in English and additional European languages. And then third, there's a teacher training package for DCE in foreign language education. And fourth, what we are doing is quite ambitious here, is a new kind of professional framework that we will be developing. So that is something that we are going to work on, or we are still working on. And the question is, how will these intellectual outputs and results be disseminated? So the project follows a sustainable open access policy to ensure widespread European outreach. We try to couple this with local, national, and also regional aspects. So we try to reach both teachers at school and university and students, and different European and national stakeholders, in-service teachers, teacher trainers, and then ultimately learners at school as the, what we think, key beneficiaries of this project. And with this kind of very general, broad description, I would like to hand over to the Siena group, I think, who will be the next to talk us a bit into the project. And yeah, so Siena, can you take over at this point? But for my part, once again, welcome everybody, and we are very excited to see you here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christiane. Good morning to everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Fiora Biagi, and together with Lavinia Bracci, we are collaborating to this very important project, as Christiane very well described. Our institution is SIS, Siena Italian Studies. It is based in Siena, and it is an independent research center, teaching language and providing service in the community, teaching academic courses to foreign students, to international students mainly, and always doing research in terms of new pedagogies, language learning and teaching, intercultural competence, intercultural studies, and digital citizenship education. My contribution, our contribution to this presentation will try to go more in depth in the concept of digital citizenship education and how it has been conceptualized and how it can be connected with the democratic competences, the competences for democratic culture. In the last decades, especially in the recent years, the work of the Council of Europe has been dedicated to the conceptualization of digital citizenship education. And we are referring to the publication of 2019 by Richardson and Milovidov. Who is the digital citizen? The digital citizen is someone who, through the development of a broad range of competences, is able to actively, positively, and responsibly engage in both online and offline communities. This is the official definition of a digital citizen. But how can we construct the competencies? How can we develop, elaborate, foster the competencies that will bring our future young citizens to become digitally competent and digital citizens? As you can see in this slide, the digital citizenship education has been visualized, conceptualized as a temple structure. You can see it has a base, a basement, columns, and a top. The base of this temple is consists of the competencies for democratic culture. This refers to a framework, a reference framework that was elaborated in 2015 by the Council of Europe. Is the framework, is the reference framework of competencies for democratic culture. And it indicates 5 core competencies divided into 4 areas: values, attitudes, skills, knowledge, and critical understanding of what the democratic competencies are, and should be a part of the education, of the development of democratic citizens. So to say, citizens that are able to function, to live, to communicate in a democratic society, in a democratic and culturally diverse society. So this is the base of the temple. This is the fundamentals of digital citizenship education. The pillars of this temple are policies, actors, strategies, infrastructures and resources, and evaluation. That brings us to the top of the temple, which include the 10 digital citizenship domains. These domains that are described in the publication that I mentioned before are divided into 3 main areas. The first area is being online, and it includes access and inclusion, learning and creativity, media and information literacy. The second area is well-being online, and it includes the domains of ethics and empathy, health and well-being, e-presence and communication. And the third rights online, the third area, rights online, includes the domains of active participation, rights and responsibility, privacy and security, consumer awareness. If we look at the temple from top to the bottom, sometimes the intricacies, the interconnectedness between the democratic competencies and the digital domains cannot be very clear. But actually, if we look more closely to both the list of competencies and the list of domains, we can see how there are many interconnections, there are many relationships. We have only brought an example today, but of course we could find many other examples. Maybe we can move on to the next slide so that we can have, here we are, thank you very much. So for example, the first area of DiCE domains being online, including access and inclusion, learning and creativity, media and information literacy, cannot but be connected, related to what human dignity and human rights are, to what cultural diversity is. It is closely connected also to the skills of listening and observing, as well as autonomous learning skill, flexibility and adaptability, and also linguistic, communicative and plurilingual skills. So this is just an example of how going from the base of the temple, from the bottom to the top, we can relate democratic competencies, which were at the beginning created actually for the real world, but at this point in time in our societies, we have to say that these democratic competencies are as much needed as not, if not more needed, in the virtual environment, in the digital world. So that's why we like to catch your attention to the intricacies, the interconnectedness between the democratic competencies and the competencies that the digital citizen should have. Thank you very much. And I think I can pass the floor to our colleagues in Riga now. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kaspars Kiris, and I represent the University of Latvia, Faculty of Pedagogy, Psychology and Arts, and I represent my team of 5 persons right now. And let's see what we have done on research to see the information what should be included in the next steps of our project. And as we can see, we have made some questionnaire, and these are respondents. As we can see that mainly there's a very good situation, because we had some about 600 respondents answering in this survey, and almost half of them were students and almost half of them were teachers actual. And it's very good to compare the data to see what are needs of these pre-service and in-service teachers as well. So as we can see, the mainly respondents were female, mainly from Germany, and the most popular foreign language is English language, as we can see it in this data. And the good thing to make some research and to help with this digital citizenship is that mostly respondents were in age group from 21 till 30 years old. So there are future teachers as well right now. So let's see in the next slide. The main findings about this questionnaire, as we can see that we divided these 2 groups to see what are the main problems students can see, what they might have in classroom, and these at the second hand, the problems what are actually there in classroom to work on this digital citizenship. As we can see that these highlighted problems we divided in skills, attitudes and values at first, And pre-service teachers are giving us sign that they might have some problems with plurilingual topics, and awareing of some skills as autonomous learning, conflict resolution, and analytical and critical thinking. About attitudes, students are worrying about tolerance of ambiguity and rule of law. And let's see what are things of teachers they have awareing us. And as we can see that these some correlation with the students. So the students are real life thinking, and teachers are worrying about these plurilingual questions, analytical and critical thinking, as well as conflict resolution and autonomous learning. So, and as we can see that rule of law and tolerance of ambiguity is as well in this, I'm sorry, in this topic. So after then, we have done some interviews, made some interviews, and the main findings about the interviews, as we can see here, that teachers need more support to understand the importance of well-being online. The second thing is that teaching and learning materials about digital citizenship and education might improve teachers' digital competence and encourage their confidence when performing online activities. And the third thing is that support materials and examples of good practices could help to understand easier and better the digital environment and implementation of technologies, especially for those in-service teachers who are skeptic about the added value of digital technologies. So these are the main things we should look for to make this framework and materials as well. So next presenter is very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaspers. Hello, everybody. My name is Marta Giral, and I'm representing University of Limerick, and with the team composed by Liam Murray and Silvia Benini and myself. So we are going to talk about the second intellectual output, which is the open educational resources. And first of all, we'll present the DiCE.Lang framework and the teaching units template that we work, and then point number 3 and 4 will be developed later on, which will be about showing some real examples of the teaching units that the consortium has developed. So I think, yeah, we can just present our working framework, which as you can see in the star, that has 5 different strands, which are all of them intertwined and connected, and however they are all connected to each other, but however they all have their own characteristics and idiosyncrasies. So we could start with the critical digital literacy, which is one of the core strands, as if we think about just the results of the survey, how the teachers were mentioning this development of their competencies in digital literacy and the critical component as well. So the critical digital literacy, we understand that as a set of competencies and analytical viewpoints that empower learners to participate fully in the digital world while understanding, interpreting critically, managing, sharing, and creating digital content. So that's one of the core strands. Another one, very important also, is the identity-oriented component. In this strand, learners have to be aware of both the real and digital identity, and especially when they sometimes differ, and keeping in mind also that there is an increasing constant presence of being online. So in that strand tackles all the issues related to identity. Finally, well, there is 5 strands, and they are all important, but the critical digital literacy, identity-oriented component, and then the inter and transcultural perspectives on digital exchanges, they are 3 standalone strands that seem to be core strands in our framework. And the inter and transcultural perspective are raising awareness on the importance of the cultural encounters in the digital world, a world that now has no borders, in order to understand and support inter and cross-cultural differences and similarities, as well, and promote relationships across cultures to negotiate and exchange worldviews as global digital citizens. The last 2 strands are maybe we just didn't say core strands, but they are so important because they are actually present in all the other strands, but DiCE.Lang gives them their own identity, or their own entity. So critical and meta-reflective component is present in all the other strands, but it is a individual strand, and it works with critical thinking skills and reflecting attitudes that allow learners to become competent in a digital world, understanding how complex this world is and how people relate in digital media, and how constant immersion into the digital world shapes its users. And finally, the content-oriented perspective, which deals with current topics that learners and citizens find in digital media. And I suppose thinking about the language learning that is intertwined as well with our framework, the students need the language to talk about everything, about the topics, about these current topics. So these are the 5 strands of our framework. Now, just I'll talk briefly about the open educational resources. We have developed, or we are in the process of developing teaching units, and we are going to develop also a digital inventory. After having all these resources created, we are piloting them and to get feedback and just perform an evaluation on them. And all the materials are for schools, for secondary schools, and also for students at university. The idea is that the resources are going to be multilingual in the different languages, or some of them are going to be multilingual in the different languages of the consortium. And as I said, we have teaching units and also a digital inventory. And if we can move, yeah, this is just for the teaching units. We have 50 developed teaching units that they are in each of the strands of our framework, in critical digital literacies, inter and transcultural perspective, identity, content, and critical and meta-reflective component. And also we are going to develop, or we're still in the process of developing a digital inventory in these 4 areas: digital text, literature, films, and digital games. And just presenting the teaching unit template briefly, because later on my colleague Silvia Benini will be talking about these teaching units and talking about the template. We are following our 5 strands in our activities, but as digital citizenship education is so complex and have different things related to, we are taking into account different frameworks that they were already developed by the Council of Europe. They've been, some of them already mentioned here by our colleagues in Siena, the 10 domains, the competences for democratic cultures, and also the well-known DiCE.Lang for digital literacies. So that's the teaching unit template that has a, okay, okay, maybe, no, that's okay, Anna. It just, this is just a little introduction. Later on will be developed a little bit more, and Silvia will go through it. Thank you. Okay, so now I'll give the floor to the colleagues in Aveiro.
So, hello everyone. My name is Ana Raquel Simões. I'm the local coordinator of the team that comes from the University of Aveiro, and I have my colleagues here with me. So I will be speaking on behalf of the entire team that is working on the project. As you can see within this project, the University of Aveiro is responsible for the organization of a teacher training package. This output includes 5 elements, which I will shortly explain. So, the first one is related to the one-off event that is occurring today. So the one-off event is the very grand opening, let us say, event of the project with the community, and the University of Aveiro and the University of Munich are the partners responsible for this part of the project. In this event today, in this webinar, we will try to address not only foreign language teachers and researchers who are engaged with this topic, but the main goal is mainly to discuss the concept of digital citizenship education with the collaboration of the project partners, as has happened so far, and 2 invited speakers, experts in this area, and also guide the participants through a range of methodologies and resources that can develop their knowledge of digital citizenship education and make them reflect about the importance of working these educational practices with their students later on. After this webinar, in a second part of this one-off event, there will be a workshop occurring in different days according to the different partners of the consortium, where language teachers will work in groups so they can get in touch with some examples of the specific units Marta has just referred to, and also with the resources developed to be used in foreign language classes. The feedback provided by the participants in the end of this event will allow us as partners of the consortium to evaluate, adapt and improve the one-off event for future events later on. After this one-off event, the project will prepare a free online training course for self-guided professional development under the coordination of the University of Aveiro and the University of Limerick. This online self-study course will take place from April onwards, and it aims to introduce teachers to the concept of digital citizenship education, also to the policy framework, and to engage them in the digital literacy development and to qualify them in this area. We hope so. This free online course is an opportunity for them to reflect about these issues, also to think about possibilities of how to adapt, how to apply, how to implement in their local curricula contexts the digital citizenship education in foreign languages. To conclude this training course, teachers will design a teaching unit suitable for their own contexts, and so the course will be available online even after its first implementation, so that everyone who is interested can complete it by themselves in the future, since it is a self-study course. The third element of the teacher training package is the teacher training education module available for curricular integration at university level, thinking of teacher education and teacher training degrees, and we have been working on this module in the last months with the collaboration of the University of Riga. This module consists of a unit addressed to pre-service teachers in training courses and aims to develop their knowledge on the concept of digital citizenship education, as well as to provide them with tools to work on this theme with their future students, giving them also some qualification in the area. The fourth element of our teacher training package includes a handbook, which will be created under the supervision of the University of Aveiro and of the group from Siena. This handbook will demonstrate in theory the possibilities of implementing digital citizenship education in foreign language education contexts, since we are working in 5 different countries with colleagues collecting data from all these different realities. The handbook will be disseminated in, we hope, an European large audience of teacher educators and teachers, pre-service and in-service teachers. Eventually, at the end, all these elements will be guiding us to the final and 5th element of the teacher training package, a multilingual guide, which will include all the data and all the results and reflections on what has been collected so far at the end. These training opportunities are not limited to the participant project countries. Of course, they can be implemented everywhere by local teacher trainers who can use them in different ways to work with the teachers they are responsible for and in their own contexts with their own realities. We must also highlight that these elements are intended to be context sensitive, and so they can be adjusted, they can be adapted and applied, implemented in diverse educational contexts with in-service teachers and also with teacher trainers in order to strive their professional development and qualification. Later on, we will be presenting the teaching unit template, as we've said and Marta has said, but now we are moving on